Good afternoon, teacher. Today we are going to talk about the second part of the TOEFL IBT test. It is the listening section. Here we can find different types of questions according to the skills. We have 6 skills here. The first is understand the gist. We usually find one gist question after every passage, and each question is scored 1 point. Also, we can notice that it is the first question that appears in the test, and we have some ways to identify this type of question. For example, what is the subject of the passage? What is the topic of the discussion? What is the professor mainly discussing? What is the purpose of the talk? Why does the student go to see the advisor? Why in the passage? Furthermore, it is important that we know how to answer this type of questions. One suggestion is to listen carefully to the beginning of the passage to develop an initial idea about the gist of the passage. Now we are going to see an example. It is a conversation about the male coach and a female student. So now we have an example of this type of question about this passage. And it says, what are the speakers mainly discussing? And we have the 4 options to choose. The first says, how the woman should prepare for the next game. B. The woman's responsibilities as team captain. Letter C. Things that happened while the woman was away. And D. The style of the new team uniforms. In order to answer this kind of question, it is important that you think about the general idea about this passage. So let's go to the skill number 2. It is understand the detail. It is the most common question type, and we can find at least one in each passage, and it is scored 1 point. It is most common in lectures. So now, how to identify this type of question? We have different ways. So, what is stated in the passage about? What is indicated in the passage about? According to the speaker, what does the professor say about? Why does the man suggest? And W questions, such as how, when, and where did. One way to answer this type of question is listen carefully to the details in the passage and take quick notes on key terms. Now we are going to have an example. It is a conversation between a female student and a male coach. And the question for this conversation is, what is the first thing that a male coach said? And we have the options A, B, C, and D. A. She guesses she will see him in the afternoon. B. Everybody is getting a new team jacket. C. A woman come through town. D. A woman wanted to do something for the team. So, to answer this question, you can review your notes about all the passage. Now, I'm going to explain about the listening skill 3. It is understand the function. It is most common in conversations, and we can find from 0 to 2 questions per passage, and it is scored 1 point each. So, the ways to identify this type of question is presented in the following way. So, listen again to part of the passage. Why does the speaker say this? What does the speaker mean? What does the speaker imply? Also, one way to answer this type of question is to listen carefully to what the speaker says and the surrounding context in the part of the passage that is presented. Or repeat it. Now we have the following example. It is a conversation between a student and a professor. And the question says, what does the professor mean when he says this? And it is the part that we are going to listen. Ok, if it's a short question. And we have the 4 options to answer this question. He hopes it is an easy question. He doesn't like to give long answers. He thinks the assignment should already be clear. He doesn't have much time to answer a question. So, to answer this question, you can draw a conclusion about why the speaker says this.
Now I'm going to talk about listening skill 4, understand the speaker's stance. This question asks about the speaker's attitude. It means feelings, opinions, or degree of certainty. The frequency of this type of questions is 0 to 1 per passage, and it is scored over 1 point. So how you can identify the question? Because you will see the following statement. Listen again to part of the conversation. What does the professor says this? Why does the student say this? Which sentence best expresses how the student feels about? What is the professor's attitude toward? And why does the professor seem to believe about? For example, listen again to part of the discussion, then answer the question. What is the advisor's attitude toward the student's original plan? So we are going to listen that part, okay?
Number 1. Listen again to part of the discussion, then answer the question.
No, Alyssa. I really mean it when I say I sympathize. Even 1 semester is a lot of money, there's no question about it. But listen, I think that spreading your studies out through that final semester will actually end up saving you money and help you get into grad school.
What is the advisor's attitude toward the student's original plan?
Okay, so we can answer this type of question by listening to the tone of voice of the speaker, okay? And then we can choose the option.
Number 2.
Now I'm going to talk about listening skill 5, understand the organization. This question is about how the ideas are organized in the passage or how they are related to the main topic. So we can find from 1 to 2 questions in lectures, but in conversations we can find just from 0 to 1 question. It is scored over 1 point. So how you can identify the question? You will see the following statements. How does the professor organize the information of the passage? Classify each of. How does the professor explain, click, according to, or illustrate? Okay, now we are going to see an example. How does the professor illustrate the concept of phototropism? So one suggestion to answer this question is to think about how the passage is organized, if it is a contrast, a comparison, a cause effect, and so on. Finally, we have listening skill 6. Understand relationships, inferences, and drawing conclusions. In this question, you have to recognize how the different ideas in the passage are related in order to make inferences, predict outcomes, and draw conclusions. We can find from 0 to 1 questions per passage, and this question is scored 1 point. So how you can identify the question? You will see the following statements. What does the woman imply? What can be inferred about? Inferred is the keyword in this case. What would probably most likely do? Which would satisfy? Okay, now we are going to see an example. What is implied about the math placement test? We have here some options. A. It is longer and more difficult than the English placement test. B. It is required for all students who register for classes at the university. C. Students usually fail it if they don't study. And D. Not passing it will delay the students' entrance into science classes. So how you can answer this type of questions? You have to look for the overall meaning of the conversation, and you have to draw a conclusion about the speaker's meaning. And that's all. Thank you.